strokes and sports injuries. ICT, repairs, rebuild. The power to heal, the future of pain relief.
Are stiff joints slowing you down? Knee pain, back pain, shoulder discomfort? Don't let pain control your life. McDowell's Joint and Pain is specially formulated to support joint mobility, flexibility, and everyday comfort, so you can move with confidence again. Whether it's work, exercise, or just enjoying time with family, you deserve to feel free in your body. Choose comfort. Choose movement. Choose McDowell's Joint and Pain. Available now. Feel the difference. Purchase McDowell's products today. Available at Health Service Center, upstairs the Napa Building on John Compton Highway, and all pharmacies and health stores.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell, VA4, Restorer Pharmacy, Soufre, Knights Med, Miku, Lay By Bar, The Morn, Dexter's Place, Jeremy Street, Castries, Citygate Bar, The City opposite the market, Plants Place, Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket, Soufre, The Release Stress Bar, Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar, Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop, opposite the Grosile Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
Live streaming has become one of the best ways to connect the funeral of a loved one with friends and family, both local and international. NBC Television will live stream your funerals on television and Facebook at a reasonable rate. With our state-of-the-art equipment, you can be assured that the quality of your funeral will be to your satisfaction. Call our office now and book your obituary and streaming with us. 758-453-7458.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluffs. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with big issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Another wonderful Monday afternoon to you, everyone. Welcome once again to another program and another week of The Real Issues with me, Shelton Daniel, your host and producer, alongside our trusted and reliable technical operator, Alton Jaquan Joseph. We hope you had a good weekend. We hope you've started off to a great week in safety, with your mind very clear about what you want to accomplish. Our program, as you know, airs weekdays from 12:30 until 2 p.m. on the radio station called Real FM that serves you on the frequencies of 91.3 for the north of the island and 91.5 for the south. We simulcast on our sister television station, MBC, channel 120 on the Flow Cable TV service. And we're also available on Facebook Live and YouTube live streaming. I came out of the weekend not all that happy, but not all that sad either, because the West Indies, have been eliminated from the World T20. I'm not happy about that. But I'm not too sad as I have tended to be at other times with West Indies playing. Even to the point where sometimes I avoided watching cricket Not just that they were losing, but the heartbreaking way in which they were losing, like there was no fight, like there was no sense, like there was absolutely no self-belief that they could do it, that they could win, that they, really didn't have the confidence in themselves. They used to, as many people would put it, as I would, snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. But I have to say, in this tournament, and including in this last match in which they were eliminated, I saw West Indies, even when they were overpowered by South Africa. And South Africa, you have to say that they're now looking as one of the favorites to win this tournament. They're looking like they have it together. They make some mistakes like everybody else. I've seen matches where I thought that their fielding, especially their catching, was atrocious. But their bowlers have generally done a good job, and their batsmen have shown the aggression and again the self-confidence, especially when chasing, that they can do it. West Indies, I don't know if I'm right in saying that they seem to do better overall when they are chasing than when they set the figure for the other side to chase. They don't seem to have a good mind about what makes a competitive and virtually out of reach total for the other side. I kind of felt West Indies could have thrown their bat around a lot more than they did, which is not to say they should have squandered their wickets, but to end on 195 for 4, meaning that you have 6 wickets left. To me, that bat should have been thrown a little more. At that stage, you're coming to the end, the last 2 overs and so on. Perhaps they could have thrown the bat. I really thought they would have reached 200 or more, and if to me they had made 10 more runs, at least reach a little over 200, they probably could have won that match. Probably could have put it, because for South Africa to have won for the loss of 5 wickets with 5 balls to spare means if West Indies had managed to squeeze in some more runs. The West Indies fielding was good. Their bowling, you can't blame it in the circumstances, including, you try a little thing, Shamar Joseph spraying a few down the leg side and, and so on. And Gudakesh Moti dropping what seemed like a fairly straightforward cotton bowl chance, a return catch from the batsman. But that's when we're watching it on the TV, the kind of pressure, the kind of force that thing is hit with, I'm surprised that he didn't get an injury like I saw a player from some of the team got some time ago, trying to take a return catch and so on. I mean, when it's slowed down so we can see it is one thing when it's coming back. But to me, the one disappointment I had in the game, that's a disappointment, was Jason Holder dropping. If it was not a straightforward catch, he seemed like he had it. He had it already. He had it under control. And I don't know if he was just so confident that he had done what needed to be done, that he was already shaping himself up to celebrate even before he had secured his grip on the ball. And the ball, he seemed like he had caught it and the ball dropped from his hand and so on. Very unlike Jason Holder. This is a guy who doesn't put down catches easily, who knows to use his height or is it his length very well. And, to see him put down a catch like that was kind of like the one disappointment. I wasn't too happy with some of the umpiring, but not a lot. I felt wides that they called against the West Indies bowlers, they didn't call them in favor of the West Indies batsmen. There were at least 2 or 3 deliveries that the Indians bowled that I found were, without question wides, but the umpires refused to. In fact, I believe I saw Shea Hope, look at an umpire and shrug, what's going on? Isn't that supposed to be a wide? And he didn't call it. But they didn't lose the match because of bad umpiring or decisions. Like I said, I kind of felt that they had the wickets in hand. They should have thrown their bat a lot more. But credit to the Indian bowlers, especially this guy who I've been impressed with for many, many years. This Jasprit Bumrah fella, the guy can bowl, and is well supported by others and so on. I'm a little ambivalent about Ruston Chase, being in the team and so on. It's not that he don't have a but Ruston Chase, to me, he doesn't look like a guy who's unsung and in form like we knew him. Now, he's a fella, he can surprise you. He can do things with the bat, he can do things with the ball, he can break through. He has a little Carl Hooper kind of thing about him where when you write him off and so on, he comes on with the ball and he takes a couple of wickets at crucial times and so on. And he didn't do too badly. I gotta say that. The bat, he didn't do too badly. He didn't do worse than anybody. Shimron Hetmeyer, we didn't get the Hetmeyer that we got in the last couple of games, the one against South Africa. And now this one against India, it's not that he did anything bad. It's not that he was playing any stupid or rash shots. I mean, the other side, they are competitive. They look for ways. But even Hetmeyer's, being caught by the wicketkeeper, I looked at it, the reviews and all, and I wasn't too convinced, that this little snake that they whatever showed and so on, how they call it again, the little spike whatever, meter whatever that they do to show whether there was contact with the bat. To me, that looked more like the thigh pad, something like that, brushing at the hip and so on. But they say it was the bat. I wasn't too pleased with that, But Hetmeyer fielded brilliantly, and he did get, some runs. He certainly got more than the 2 runs that he got in the previous match and so on. He looked like he was going to go on. So I wouldn't say there was anything you can say that West Indies did bad. Darren Sammy and the team can hold their heads up, they can do well. We, of course, would have wished they would have gone on to the semi-finals. I have to say, in all the teams that West Indies played in the tournament, the one team of note that you would consider to be the top tier, top flight was England, and they defeated England. I just knew that the moment they met up with South Africa, India, that the resistance would begin to stiffen. It would not be smooth sailing for them. And so when South Africa crushed them, West Indies has not been doing well against South Africa for at least the last 2 years or so. They've not been performing well. They've seemed unable to cope with the bounce and length and whatever of Kagiso Rabada, for example. That other guy, Luigi Ngidi, is just absolutely, sublime and good. The guy knows how to do a slower ball to hold back. He uses his height very well. I mean, he's a great bowler. I have admiration for him, And they have, of course, other people and so on, the captain, Aidan Makram, who can bowl, also their wicket keeper who's also a top-line batsman, Quinton de Kock and so on. They were good, but West Indies are out. I'm sad about that, but I think they gave a good account of themselves. They didn't just surrender and play atrocious cricket. And, even when West Indies had that top and middle order collapse against South Africa, the lower order, I keep saying this, Romario Shepherd and Jason Holder, I mean, for guys coming down the order, the way those fellas batted, took West Indies from what seemed to be, what were they, for 8 already at less than 100, and for the fellas to have gone on, to reach that kind of score that they reached of 170 something, whatever. I mean, this was superb. It shows there's depth in the batting. It shows there's resilience in them and so on. So I don't feel too bad about the way they went out. It was always going to be a tough challenge for them. They did well, but I just feel if they had gotten 10 more runs, take it a little over, 200. And of course, if Jason Holder had held on to that catch, I just feel the story might have been different. But there's always if. It could have been, it might have been, it ought to have been, and so on. That is the reality, the out of it. Now, international matters. What else can we talk about? But what seems to be a conquer the world military adventurism that is sadly emanating from our hemisphere, from our part of the world, where the United States of America seems to have embarked on a certain blatant, you can't call it expansionism because it's not that they're looking to acquire territory or anything like that, but to subdue the rest of the world, including their own allies, with, if not their military might, the threat of it, their economic power and all the sanctions they can put on people. Now they have gone and they have reopened. Now it seems a much more serious, much wider, much deeper war against Iran. Now, I don't know about who's right and wrong and whether Iran deserves it or not. Here's the point that I want to make about this thing. This whole hostility is against Iran. And I can understand how Iran has fallen for it. It seems Iran has fallen for the same trick twice. Twice. Since June last year to now, June or July last year to now, is how many months we're talking about? About 9 months, 10 months, and so on. Iran has fallen, has allowed itself to be punked and sucker punched twice by America together with Israel. But mostly America, that Trump has invited Iran to talks so that they can address issues pertaining to their nuclear program. Twice, and Iran has agreed. They've been holding those talks. The latest round was in Geneva, in the middle of Europe, in Geneva, Switzerland, and so on. They reported progress, they had disagreements and differences, but that's what talks are about. But as before and now, America seems to have used the facade of some olive branch that it is extending to Iran to let's talk this over, let's have negotiations, let's have discussions. And while the negotiations and discussions are ongoing or pending, America attacks Iran. Last year, wasn't it that was going on? They were due to hold talks, if not on the Sunday, then on the Monday. But by the Friday and the Saturday, America was bombing Iran, bombing their nuclear facilities, boasting about how they use that most advanced bomber, which is, all radar evading stealth, the B-2 or whatever stealth bomber, and what they did a decoy. They flew 6 of them and made them go to Guam so that they really didn't know, stopped a couple over in Europe and whatever. I mean, all this fancy kind of thing. But at least you call the people to talks. And then you came and you bombed them while the talks were pending. I'm not saying they could have done anything differently, but is Iran really that stupid to go back into talks and not to at least tell yourself that this is probably the same trick? Who falls for the same trick twice? They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But what I'm saying is, who, having been tricked, given we talk so much about once bitten, twice shy, that Iran goes into talks with the United States over the same thing that they're supposed to have obliterated, because remember the narrative was we obliterated the nuclear facilities. They cannot enrich uranium. They have so many years. We've set them back from developing a bomb. Oh, these bombers and how they call it, massive ordnance penetrators, the 10,000 or 30,000 pound bombs that they drop with absolute precision down ventilation shafts to facilities that were so deep underground in the mountains of Fordo and whatever other place in Iran, and they totally obliterated and vaporized that. And I'm wondering if you did all of that, and if you said anything that contradicted that, you became enemy number one, it seemed to Trump. You fake news, you horrible, you don't want to celebrate the victory and the greatness of the American military, but you have to go back now and bomb and start a war again to set them back in the same nuclear program you said you had destroyed. They cannot even get access to it because, you've totally, shattered the facilities and all this kind of thing. But you're going back to do it again. But that's neither here nor there. What is it going to do for the future of trying to achieve negotiated settlements? If while discussions and preparations are ongoing, that you are using that, it seems, as a camouflage, as a decoy, as a smokescreen to attack the very people you're supposed to be having talks with, and while those talks are ongoing. Something in right there. There'll come a time where people that you need to sit down and talk and to arrive at negotiated settlements, they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it anymore. They'll move either to the asymmetrical guerrilla stage of warfare and terrorism and that kind of thing. They'll believe everything you're doing is just really, to distract them so that you can sucker punch them. And the whole principle of the sucker punch is you're talking to a man, you maintaining eye contact with him, you showing him something, and at the same time you taking your other hand and you punching him below the belt or in the gut and so on, so that, he never saw it coming because he thinks he's having a face-to-face conversation with you. And it's just a distraction for you to do him something. What's that going to do for future negotiations with whoever it is? It don't have to be Iran, it don't have to be, but anybody that you're going to discuss what? That's the way you're going to conduct your relations with all other countries in the world, on the basis that you can defeat them, you can flatten them. You defeat them, but what have you won, really? What have you won? The kind of hatred that I now see proliferating and spreading and consuming and engulfing the whole world now. I don't know if this thing can ever be pushed back, be rolled back, I don't see if it can. The kind of hatred that will now be around Israel and those Palestinians and other Arab states. Because a lot of the thing with those Arab states is that they are led by families and who want to preserve their status, who want to sustain themselves in power. So they will go along with certain things that will ensure that they retain power. But it's not like they will ever like Israel and Jews and Zionists. And now it is a lot worse now. I see a world where people who have been beaten on the battlefield in open frontal warfare now will take to the mountains and the forest and the caves and the tunnels and so on that are so abundant in their countries, having been constructed across millennia of wars between kingdoms and great powers and so on, that they will take to those places again. And it will be all a sniping and a sharpshooting and a laying of mines and improvised explosive devices. Haven't they seen that you win when you are the big bad wolf who has the tanks and who has the aircraft? But it's what comes after. What comes after? What spawned Al-Qaeda and ISIS and this and that and the other that you've had to deal with, and that goes on for years. You don't have any state you're fighting against that is identifiable. You don't have any, defined infrastructure that you can attack and so on. It's a whole sort of people who want to take down a plane when they can, who want to blow up a ship when they can, or set fire to something that you have to deal with. You fragment them. It's like the same thing that happened there. If what we're hearing is true, this blowing up of this drug boat near St. Vincent and so on, and now small packages are dispersed all over the place. It's one thing where you can find the hideout, the stash of a major drug trafficker or drug baron or drug lord or whatever they call themselves, and you can go and you can raid, their warehouse and their shed. Then for you have 1,000 people, each have a package of 5 kilograms or 2 kilograms or whatever kilograms of cocaine going around and trying to see if they can make money of it. The kind of insecurity, the kind of people, mun ka ve, mun ka hashe, mun ka fetut bag, when you go and you blow it up and you have packages floating all in the sea or whatever it is, what have you achieved? What have you done in this case? I don't understand. It's the same way now. You're going to go to Iran. A lot of those places, they have authoritarian, dictatorial tyrants and governments. In their mind, that is the only way to hold the country together, because in those countries, don't ever think that they are some kind of amorphous, homogeneous whole and so on. There's all kinds of tribal and ethnic differences and clashes about the Assyrian versus the Alawite and this and that in that part of the world. So many of them. It's because those military governments, those absolutely ruthless dictators and systems come in that suppress them and that keep them giving a semblance of national, conformity and unity and continuity. They're not. You bomb Iran, there are people there who probably had something against, the Ayatollah system, who had that thing against the Shah system, who had this and that and so on. And they figured this is the time to poke their head up and getting them together. This is why eventually they realized, no matter how much we have fought the Taliban, they seem to be the only group. They seem to be the only assembly of tribes and so on who have what it takes to hold Afghanistan together, to at least keep Afghanistan looking like some semblance of what you can call a nation state. Same thing in Syria. You have the Maronite, you have the Christian, you have the Druze, you have the this, you have the that. What's the name of those people that Turkey don't want to have anything to do with them again? I forgot their name again. Their leader was in jail for a long time, Abdullah. Yeah, the Kurds and so on. You have all those people fighting again. Now you're going to go and launch a war against Iran and you want the people to rise up. Which people are rising up? The people will rise up against the government and they'll rise up against each other. Because now that the restraint of a powerful state apparatus is taken away from them, is all the thing about that land used to belong to my people and you all took it over and we want it back. And then you have how many different sects and factions and so on. I don't understand what is happening there. You believe you will ever have a united Venezuela, coming out if you were able to crush the system of government in Cuba? You believe you'll ever have a united Cuban people standing behind you? You'll have so many different disparate interests and so on who want to push their own little agenda, and then the insecurity will multiply. You cannot hermetically seal any border. Who will come in, who will float, who will dive underwater, who will use the narco subs or whatever, and they will get. And people have been telling me, they meet me and they say, why do you think America is doing that? It's the oil they want to control. And I say, I wonder. Why do they want to control oil when America has more oil than it can handle? America is the world's biggest oil exporter. Would they be exporting oil if they did not have sufficient for their own needs? If they import oil is really as a means of control to maintain links and so on, so that Saudi Arabia will buy their weaponry, their military industrial complex and so on. We're getting a call. I think we better take it, What time is it now? All right. Let's take that call. Real Issues, you're on the air. Go ahead. Hello?
Oh, sorry. I think I called the wrong place. Sorry.
All right. I wonder if this is a ploy to deprive China of oil, because Donald Trump in particular has some paranoia about China, about China's rise and the ascendancy of China, and China become powerful, and China threatening the supremacy of the United States, and typical Monroe Doctrine stuff. And so if he can shut off the oil, make it unavailable to China in Venezuela, which other place is sympathetic to China that they will export oil, probably easier overland, Another place like Iran that you've already shut out from the rest of the world through sanctions. Maybe that's what it's about. Maybe this latest interest in Nigeria, that's what it's about too. Shut off places where China can get oil and hope this will cripple China. But guess what? One place that you don't have that kind of control over is Russia. And Russia has more oil. They say Venezuela has the world's largest proven reserves. Where they've done research, I can't see any other place that possibly has more oil in the world than Russia. It's the world's largest country, largest landmass. Maybe under the ice sheets of Siberia and other places and so on. Russia has oil that probably can drown the world 10 times over. Are you now going to create a situation where maybe Russia and China are pushed closer into cooperation with each other? What would you have achieved if they gang up together against you and so on, and they're mutually, supportive of each other and so on? This thing just looks absolutely crazy to me. But the fact is, you were in talks with the people. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. My fear about it is that anytime there is some major war in the Middle East, we have felt it. I remember back in 1989, 1990, that was when they had the first Gulf War or whatever. The UWP was in power. John Compton was the prime minister. And that was when we saw a significant jump in the price of fuel at the pump. That was the first time I know that the price of diesel drew level with that of gasoline. Diesel was always cheaper. We didn't know about this $10 a gallon thing. But if, for example, gas was selling for $3 a gallon at the time, diesel was probably selling at $2, if not less. Diesel was always the cheaper option. Why? Because a lot of the big trucks that were moving passengers around and freight and so on, remember the old days of the truck, the Billy B's and the Honesties and so on. These were diesel-powered trucks. The Austin, Leland and so on that were, moving huge loads and so on across what was roads that were a lot less friendly at that time, my friend. In terms of the curves and the hills and the inclines and the almost impossible terrain that they had to go through. By the time that Gulf War came, gas and diesel came to be the same price. And I don't remember the price of diesel ever dropping again significantly. It was on the up. Cooking gas, everything went up at that time. Some people said Compton was just using that as an excuse that we're not getting oil from Middle East. But then let's say we're getting oil from Trinidad. It is the pressure on the global supply that it puts, and Trinidad has to be in sync with OPEC. If OPEC prices go up, they can't be pricing them below OPEC and underselling OPEC and so on. That is a big sticking point. Look at how the COVID pandemic and subsequently the Russia-Ukraine war, how it is said to have affected the global supply chain. So we can look at those things and hope and pray and cross our fingers, whatever, that it does not become so this time. But if it does, my goodness, we really can do without that. We took blows from COVID, we took blows from supply chain difficulties, and now this thing going back again into some kind of war. And you can be sure, when they finish what they consider to be a victory over Iran, they'll pick out some other target. It will go on and on and on and on like that. For very little reason than that the two leaders involved are facing inquiries, trials, questions in their own country about their behavior. In the case of Donald Trump, we have seen a notable uptick in this foreign adventurism and militarism ever since his friend Elon Musk and him fell out, and Musk brought back, resurrected that Jeffrey Epstein thing. From the time Musk did that, and Trump has been facing questions, it's like he's been trying to get distractions so that when midterms come, it will show that he's powerful, that he indeed made America great again. Look at us, we rolled over Iran, which has been a problem outstanding for so long. Nobody, not Biden, not Obama. You know, he seldom mentions Bush, you know, the Bushes and so on. It's Biden and Obama. He has this thing again. They never were able to do it. And look at them. We've defeated Iran. We've stopped the threat that they pose. And Venezuela and Maduro and so on. We have him in prison. You know, so you can go there and you can show it. So that even if the Democrats were to win the midterms, it would be by a narrow bit because people would see Trump as that great hero. They would not get the majority needed to secure impeachment and to remove Trump from office. They might pass legislation, whatever, but he could still veto it because you need to have 2/3 or 3/4 majority in both houses for you to override a presidential veto. So if Trump is hoping that even if the fortunes for the Democrats essentially cause the tide to be turned against him, it will not be by a margin where his continuation as, as president will be threatened. Same way with Netanyahu. Netanyahu is facing some serious corruption charges and has been on trial for a while, but every time the trial is making progress to the point where they will reach a conclusion, and most people believe the day they do Netanyahu and his wife Susan Netanyahu, they're going to jail. Because it's all been almost all but proven, and he's not the only one. Several Israeli leaders, the whole Israel project is in large part a racket being played on the people of America to make them pay for houses and expansions and settlements that they know they'll have to bulldoze because they are internationally illegal. But you build them, a few years down the line, you say, okay, you've reached a settlement and peace, and you bulldoze them. American taxpayers are being milked all the time to pay for that because what they're doing there is they're supporting the people of God, so they're earning themselves the favor and the blessing of God. There was a guy before Netanyahu called Ehud Olmert who also faced trial for that thing. I think he was sentenced. Even the great Ariel Sharon, the great general and so on, has found himself caught in that thing. All of them. And so anytime Netanyahu knows his day of reckoning in court is coming, he starts up a new round of war and hostilities and things. So because as long as you're at war and so on, you don't want the man who's leading your war effort, he's himself an army officer and so on. You don't want them to be in a dock facing cross-examination. It's more important because we are facing an existential threat. It's always an existential threat against an Iran who wants to wipe out. And so Netanyahu keeps kicking the can down the road, and basically fading. This is the same thing that Donald Trump, it reminds me of the Lucky Dube song, This Crazy World. Leaders starting wars anytime they want. Some for their rights, some for fun. Letting people die for the wrongs that they do. Oh, it's so painful. There's what these fellas are doing. Always have a war and have a military-industrial complex that can only focus upon the profits and the money that is to be made from the supply of military equipment at exorbitant prices, your Patriot missiles, your this and your that. And of course, there are always middlemen and brokers and so on who are arranging the sales and getting a good cut of it. And perhaps in order to keep it, they are under the table feeding back some of that money as kickbacks to the politicians and so on to help their re-election, which is how they get their funding. And they don't care how many people they kill in the process. This is what we see happening. Better I say it than Philip JPS say it. Because then they'll target St. Lucia because it becomes official. And you do it without any declaration of war. When you go bomb there, who are you convincing that is soldiers and an old 86-year-old man and this and that and the other, that you're going to kill and do this sort of thing? Show us evidence that Iran attacked you, that you had a declaration of war. Same way with Venezuela. Whatever your problems with Maduro, just so you're going to go and kill how many hundreds of people? Including how many Cubans who were as is their right, providing security services, just so Cuba has to deal with 40 or 30 or whatever of its people just killed like that? Just so Venezuela just has to wake up and find that so many, scores of its people are just killed like that? You're just taking a dump on the people, wiping your feet on them, and as if, they're nobody, they don't mean anything. What's going on there? If one American is killed, you never stop hearing about who has to be held to account because they've killed an American, and this is unacceptable, and they have to face justice, and just so you just go in and kill the people like that? And I mean, it's going to draw in a lot of the countries there, because the retaliation, they're sending, all kind of missiles at them. Where was the declaration of war? Where was the congressional approval? But anyway, those Democrats in the United States, I ain't too hot on them either, but, sometimes you have to tell yourself, what is the least of the worst alternatives that you have? Because those Democrats, we talk about midterms, it was the 2022 midterms that they allowed to cause them to become complacent. They performed exceptionally and unexpectedly well in the 2022 midterms. So right away, they got complacent. They stopped looking seriously about succession, about whether Joe Biden was the right guy to Joe Biden had already shown too much signs of mental decline. He was never going to be the good candidate to go in the 2024 elections. Right until the last minute, until they had no choice but to, dispense with the primaries and just put Kamala, They just had to put his vice president there. A black woman, a woman at that, and then, she has this kind of black thing about America. That was in the throes of Trump and them, oh my goodness, what have we done with Obama? And a woman who, how can she come on and be her own person and take a stand on issues of the economy when she was the deputy to the man who was at the helm, who was blamed for the unemployment and whatever? She going to come and critique or criticize her boss? She going to come and say, I will change my economic policy to do this? Well, how come you are part of the economic policy? Did you ever, indicate, your misgivings about it, and what was the reaction you got? It might even show that you are basically throwing your own president, your leader, under the bus. So she had to measure everything, if she had anything between the ears pertaining to economic policy and those kind of things. But the Democrats generally, I found that they suck up to Zionists and Jews and all of that too much. And they suck up to them, to me, even more. Obama was one of them, and then they never liked him. In Israel, there were the racist, statements that were being made publicly about him and this sort of thing. But he was always, to me, sucking up to the Jewish and Zionist lobby and so on. There was no difference. Some people lately are vexed with me when I say, you tut say mem, you tut say mem, fundamentally. Anyway, Real Issues powered by Blue Waters. Let's take our first break, and when we come back, we'll open the phone lines.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Why are you suffering from aches, pains, and illnesses? When there's help for you. At Health Service Center, we offer a wide range of treatment that has been scientifically proven to help you with your aches, pains, and illnesses. Our ICT machine is one of the most effective devices in the health field. It has shown positive results in many health problems, such as back pains, shoulder pains, migraine headaches, pain in the knees and legs, poor circulation, arthritis, diabetic neuropathy, numbness in the feet, strokes and sports injuries. ICT, repairs, rebuild, the power to heal, the future of pain relief.
Are stiff joints slowing you down? Knee pain, back pain, shoulder discomfort? Don't let pain control your life. McDowell's Joint and Pain is specially formulated to support joint mobility, flexibility, and everyday comfort, so you can move with confidence again, whether it's work, exercise, or just enjoying time with family, you deserve to feel free in your body. Choose comfort. Choose movement. Choose McDowell's Joint and Pain. Available now. Feel the difference. Purchase McDowell's products today. Available at Health Service Center, upstairs the Napa Building on John Compton Highway, and all pharmacies and health stores.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell Vie 4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwozel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosley Bus Stop, Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosley.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
Live streaming has become one of the best ways to connect the funeral of a loved one with friends and family, both local and international. NBC Television will live stream your funerals on television and Facebook at a reasonable rate. With our state-of-the-art equipment, you can be assured that the quality of your funeral will be to your satisfaction. Call our office now and book your obituary and streaming with us. 758-453-7458.
McDowell Supplements, an effective way to ensure you and your loved ones are getting the daily recommended intake of essential vitamins, minerals, and other important nutrients necessary for optimal health. Naturally, we carry an array of health and wellness supplements. McDowell's Immune Booster enhances your body's defense to fight colds and flu, boosts your immune system, prevents viruses and other airborne diseases. McDowell's Colon Cleanser prevents constipation, helps in removing toxins from the colon, detoxifies the body, and regulates your bowel movements. McDowell's Prostate Health prevent the enlargement of the prostate, improve urinary flow, and reduce frequent urination, especially at night. Moringa oleifera capsules are rich in minerals like calcium, potassium, zinc, magnesium, iron, and copper, vitamins like beta-carotene of vitamin A, vitamin B such as folic acid, vitamin C, D, and E. McDowell's Potassium Complex, used for treating and preventing low potassium levels, high blood pressure, preventing stroke, and aid in weight loss. McDowell's Triple Magnesium relaxes the muscles, relieves cramps and helps to control high blood pressure, improves sleep, and can calm the nerves. Magnesium is very important for the normal functioning of cells, nerves, muscles, bones, and the heart. McDowell's Ginger Turmeric helps to relieve pain, decrease nausea and enhance the immune function to help protect against illness and infection. Ginger turmeric has powerful anti-inflammatory properties and improves your circulation. Don't hold health back. Let health strike back. McDowell's, the better way to start your health. Visit Health Service Center, John Compton Highway. Call 453-6417. Let your wellness be our stress.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Big issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Our telephone lines are open to take your calls. The numbers that you can reach us on, the landline, which is 4533911. You can call us on that number. I think Jaquan is trying to get the WhatsApp booted up. So as soon as it does, I think you'll remember that the number for it is 4879841. So if you call and you don't... How's that? 4879849. Okay. Yeah, 4879849. If I said anything other than that, scratch it. I think we're getting our first call. Real Issues, you're on the air. Go ahead. Hi, Real Issues, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Bon après-midi. Good.
Yeah, bon après-midi.
Une question. Si le gouvernement et la police viennent à tout et que joignent l'huile et bien ils joignent l'eau. Est-ce que c'est ça yo?
Oui, après de loi cadre là il vient pour bagaille comme ça. Si c'est terre yo supposé payer hein, il mande yo supposé payer pour terre si yo ka acheter toi. C'est si yo toi appelle là ni assez l'huile ou comment qui kay fait vaut investissement yo ni pour faire. On bande là si yo garder oui là ni l'huile mais c'est l'huile on ti tak bagaille batan yo fait équipement yo mettez tout comment plateforme bagaille pour drill. Ça bagaille vaut temps de là yo ani kay quitter ça bat misère. Mais si on décide qu'il l'année assez, qui est nécessaire pour développement et pour bénéfice économique pays, yo ça décidé pour acheter ça à la mort, c'est pas n'importe l'argent, yo supposé pour bailler l'argent en loi qui caille du bout. Et puis moi l'idée yo supposé ba on ti bagaille aussi pour recogniser qu'il l'huile ça et puis ça yo joine diamant en lettre au bagaille. Aussi supposé toi comme récompenser pour ça. So là ni loi moi pas ça do à sous tête moi tout seul qui mode loi rattraper mais n'importe bail qui ka venir con l'huile qui ka venir con l'eau qui ka venir con bail comme ça si vous trouvez ça et au passage just chaîne ni pour quoi on décision ni pour fait oui
OK so il y ça c'est pour les
oui et puis si on dit attraper l'huile et puis ba fino bail hein. Et puis pays à toi qui mise l'huile là qui là quand nous dit en anglais it's not worth the while of the investment and all of that. Là ni pour ni permission ou même vous décider ou voulez faire extraction l'huile ça pour ça point pour bénéfice pour servir. Est-ce une capacité est-ce une manœuvre là pour ça nous quoi que refine l'huile là pour séparer pour processer et bail comme ça. Est-ce que ça fait en manière qui paraît dommager environnement. Il là a joué dans l'huile ça, il descend dans l'ovier même quand il vient après des ou détruire et puis qualité bagaille collant l'eau ça là épais ça là et ça va descendre dans la mer ça faut dire qu'emprisonner terre ou en l'air et puis terre qui bon l'autre monde qui ni terre bon bagaille comme ça. So toutes ces bagailles ça ni pour prendre l'idée. Mais continuez ça on regarder. Excusez-moi.
So, en même temps, si vous jouez une drug cocaine, vous pouvez arrêter le coup.
Si vous jouez qui ça?
Drug cocaine, vous pouvez arrêter le coup.
En l'état?
Oui.
Non. C'est pas vous jouez une bagaille là, ça veut dire ou coupable, vous pouvez arrêter. Vous pouvez faire une question, vous pouvez faire une investigation. Puis si ça, moun ka fait on chien indiscrétion, de là, ni bagaille qui vient se oui, parce que on ni place en l'air, de là, ou même bagaille même tellement aller dans coin. Eh bien aller au ban location ça à côté terre ko la ni de un petit tout cahier bagaille yo ka venir ko fouiller bagaille de là ou même innocent pas même ça bagaille là au ban so I just vin away to me no call God me wala jol yo ka faire investigation yo ka demander question et de là la même investigation c'est police là même qui observer qui monsieur c'est moun qui vinn c'est oui bagaille yo là un homme là pas même connaître eh bien si yo pas quoi et que ouais là ni indication là ni signe ka montrer qui ou di complice en dedans bail ça yo ça décidé pour mener l'audience laisse ça là ni avocat là ni DPP qui ka ça mande question pour yo ça ouais est juge là qui déterminer qui ou ka menti dat ou di complice dans ça qui a so yo supposé pour soit condamné ou on l'argent et ben vaut l'argent le font bail comme ça mais là supposé ni ça nous ka dit un trial.
OK, merci à vous.
Oui, okay. All right. We're getting another call straight away. Real Issues, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Shelton.
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to your viewers and listeners.
Yes. How are you?
I'm good, my brother. How are you doing?
You're doing great.
All right, all right. Let me tell you, I think it's for all of us solutions to understand what is coming, what's about to come, and we've seen it happen in recent years. I'm speaking about the spike in the cost of crude oil and, of course, the resultant effect on our pumps. And we know what's going to be coming, so the opposition is going to take their time to jump on and talk about fuel costs and these kinds of things, knowing full well what's going to happen. We need to brace ourselves for what's coming in terms of that. But also, Shelton, I think it's not only the fuel, because remember, Israel itself is a major electronic hub, for the global electronic hub, and they create a lot of components for a lot of the electronics.
Who's that? Who?
Israel. In fact, both Israel and Iran, but Israel much more than Iran.
Okay.
And with all these conflicts going on, we might as well see a lot of hiking the price of consumer goods too.
Yeah.
You never know. Due to resource constraints and, of course, shipping, maybe even alternative shipping routes, depending on how the war goes.
And not only that too, whereas we could count on a little aid, a little something.
Right.
Man, a tremendous amount of money now is being spent on arms. Again, we have an arms race which is even worse than it was during the days of...
And you have to ask yourself for what?
During the days of the Cold War, we were made to believe that we had moved into a new era. The arms race is now full-blown all over again,
At the press of a button, we can see annihilation.
Yeah, and not only that too, all things like US aid and so on, that would give us a little breather ahead. Now we'll have to find money ourselves to spend on a lot of things because they just don't have money. An American that's $40 trillion in debt and so on.
Remember I mentioned last week while I was on the show that Israel aid is now, since USAID was disbanded, of course, the operations have been taken over completely by the government, I believe. But Israel aid is one of those assisting the Caribbean now, in place of USAID. So could you imagine if that in itself, the war has that even kind of effect on their own, their humanitarian works, global humanitarian works. So you know what that means for us.
Yeah.
And finally, I just want to say back to the point of energy. I believe that all solutions now should embrace, the various developments in our energy sector, especially the geothermal exploration that's currently ongoing at 4 sites on the southwest end of the island. I think we should embrace that because with all those spikes in fuel prices, and now we're seeing a lot more hybrid and electric vehicles being imported by our dealers. Having attended a workshop, an OECS workshop in Grenada a few years ago on geothermal energy, we've seen that Martinique and Guadeloupe have already advanced. Martinique has had geothermal plants since the 80s, and I think they stepped up the kilowattage just recently. Dominica has already done their discovery, and I think they're looking to move in that direction of geothermal. So we, as solutions, should do all we can to support the initiatives aimed at alternative energy, even alternative sources of water. We hear a lot of people talking about the desalination plants. We don't know how that could work here, but we need to be more conscious of those things as we move forward because we're a tiny dot. We have no effect on the global scale when it comes to economics and everything for these countries are about economics. The U.S. is about oil. It's about preserving wealth for all those nations.
Yeah, honestly, so but you know something, Mix. We might decide we're going into renewable energy and all of that, and we invest and whatever we can scrape up. It's a hypothetical, but we have no way of knowing the way the United States, for example, is so erratic in its foreign and trade relations. If tomorrow they might decide, look, they have invested a lot of money in Venezuela to do so much now for the heavy crude that they have. It's expensive and so on. And that for the Caribbean to be going off into renewable and geothermal, that is going to prevent, the Venezuelan investment from making money and from things. So the fellas might just demand that we must buy a certain quota of oil from the Venezuelan thing, even though it's most expensive. They might just decide that Trinidad,
tariffs on it.
Yeah, that Trinidad on the Kamla, that we need to give them a little, a little more of a fillip and a boost and give them that little show of support. So stop all this geothermal thing and stop all of that.
At the expense of the environment, yeah?
Honestly, they might just come and if not bomb it, they might sabotage it. You just don't know where things are going, where they are headed, and where you stand with Donald Trump and those people. You just never know. Everything you try to do to make yourself more self-reliant, more self-sufficient, and you don't have to be licking their boots and their feet at every turn. It's like they don't like it. Yet on the other hand, the little hand holding that they had promised and offered you and you had come to depend upon them, they're just suddenly withdrawing it from you,
Yeah.
They don't give you time to adjust. They don't give you time with US aid, nothing. They just pull the rug out from under you, but you explore alternatives right away. You're being sanctioned and so on. You just don't know,
And finally on that point, what you've realized as you mentioned that, is that they've more or less cut the throat of many of our benefactors.
Yes.
So that's Mexico, Cuba, Venezuela. So they're tying our hands now, and we're forced to rely on them. Anyway, Shelton,
yeah,
to you and your viewers. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Yeah, thanks. Same to you. All right, 4533911. That is the landline number that we've been getting the calls on, so you can, continue to call us on it. 4533911. Like I said, the WhatsApp seems to be a little slow this morning to get going, but Jaquan is working on it all the time. In fact, communications all the time. I called some auto police and so on this morning, and they couldn't speak to me. I called on many numbers, and they said, I'm sorry, Mr. Daniel, we've been having a problem with the phone. So many people are reporting problems with phones these days. But we have another caller coming through. Real Issues, you're on the air. Go ahead. Hello?
Bonjour.
Yeah, go ahead. Speak up, please.
Bonjour.
Yeah, bonjour. Hey, forward là, que nouvelle?
Oui, forward là, Shelton Daniel.
Ok.
Oui. Bon matin, à midi, là, je voulais retirer la prière. Pardon. Excusez-moi, hein. Si je fais mistake, c'est la faute, moi.
Oui.
Our Lady of Mercy, Virgin Mary of Mother of God, and for the majestic quality or dignity which is expected, which is respected by these angels and man, today as one of your children, I confess since my childhood I have heard you as my mother, lawyer, person, since to that time for my protection, with your power, help those who are doing his word faithfully, and lead them to eternal happiness in heaven after death. Amen, amen, amen. Come, Holy Spirit, we need you. Come, Holy Spirit, we need you. Come, sweet Spirit, we pray. Come with your strength and your power. Come with your own gentle way. Oh, come as wisdom to children. Come and visit to the blind. Come with your own healing power. Come with your own special way. Come, Holy Spirit, we need you, our Lord. Come, sweet Spirit, we pray. Come with your strength and your power. Come and bring light to the world. Amen, amen, amen.
All right, forward là. Merci en pile. Et puis, passez une bonne restant journée, une bonne semaine. Et puis, merci en pile pour ça. Venir et puis pour dire que béni nous et chanter ça à nous. You're listening to The Real Issues with me, Shelton Daniel, powered by Blue Waters. And I say listening because I still think radio. But you're also watching The Real Issues. We're on radio and we're on TV. And we'll be back shortly to continue taking more of your calls and to read some of your messages.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Why are you suffering from aches, pains, and illnesses? When there's help for you, at Health Service Center, we offer a wide range of treatments that has been scientifically proven to help you with your aches, pains, and illnesses. Our ICT machine is one of the most effective devices in the health field. It has shown positive results in many health problems, such as back pains, shoulder pains, migraine headaches, pain in the knees and legs, poor circulation, arthritis, diabetic neuropathy, numbness in the feet, strokes and sports injuries. ICT, repairs, rebuild, the power to heal, the future of pain relief.
Are stiff joints slowing you down? Knee pain, back pain, shoulder discomfort? Don't let pain control your life. McDowell's Joint and Pain is specially formulated to support joint mobility, flexibility, and everyday comfort, so you can move with confidence again. Whether it's work, exercise, or just enjoying time with family, you deserve to feel free in your body. Choose comfort. Choose movement. Choose McDowell's Joint and Pain. Available now. Feel the difference. Purchase McDowell's products today. Available at Health Service Center, upstairs the Napa Building on John Compton Highway, and all pharmacies and health stores.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell V4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosley Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosley.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
Live streaming has become one of the best ways to connect the funeral of a loved one with friends and family, both local and international. NBC Television will live stream your funerals on television and Facebook at a reasonable rate. With our state-of-the-art equipment, you can be assured that the quality of your funeral will be to your satisfaction. Call our office now and book your obituary and streaming with us. 758-453-7458.
McDowell Supplements, an effective way to ensure you and your loved ones are getting the daily recommended intake of essential vitamins, minerals, and other important nutrients necessary for optimal health. Naturally, we carry an array of health and wellness supplements. McDowell's Immune Booster enhances your body's defense to fight colds and flu, boosts your immune system, prevents viruses and other airborne diseases. McDowell's Colon Cleanser prevents constipation, helps in removing toxins from the colon, detoxifies the body, and regulates your bowel movements. McDowell's Prostate Health prevent the enlargement of the prostate, improve urinary flow, and reduce frequent urination, especially at night. Moringa oleifera capsules are rich in minerals like calcium, potassium, zinc, magnesium, iron, and copper, vitamins like beta-carotene of vitamin A, vitamin B such as folic acid, vitamin C, D, and E. McDowell's Potassium Complex, used for treating and preventing low potassium levels, high blood pressure, preventing stroke, and aid in weight loss. McDowell's Triple Magnesium relaxes the muscles, relieves cramps and helps to control high blood pressure, improves sleep, and can calm the nerves. Magnesium is very important for the normal functioning of cells, nerves, muscles, bones, and the heart. McDowell's Ginger Turmeric helps to relieve pain, decrease nausea and enhance the immune function to help protect against illness and infection. Ginger turmeric has powerful anti-inflammatory properties and improves your circulation. Don't hold health back. Let health strike back. McDowell's, the better way to start your health. Visit Health Service Center, John Compton Highway. Call 453-6417. Let your wellness be our stress.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with the real issues on this Monday. It is the second day of the month of March 2026. Yes, we are into the month of March. We've said goodbye to the month of February since Saturday. And I hope our stepping forward into it is going to be something a lot more beautiful, and we'll be at peace. We will enjoy it. Never mind all the turbulence that's taking place in the world right now, and which could get worse, but who knows? Things may surprise us, and it might suddenly get better. You know, one of the things that I look at, and I kind of wonder, other countries that we could see as alternative benefactors may themselves be so unavoidably caught in the tide and in the swing of things. Let's look at Britain, for example, a traditional former colonial power, mother country, as we like to call them. Britain may be under so much pressure now. And this is one of the reasons why I have been so critical of that Russia-Ukraine war, which I felt was unnecessary. Whereas Europe, as we understand it, including the UK and so on, might have stood up and said, hey, we don't want this. We say to America and to Trump, we're not being part of this. We don't want to join up in this. Yes, we're NATO, but, we don't think this is necessary at this time. Who knows, they may feel that they must go along with it because this menace from the east, from Russia, because the people have been through this thing so many times before that they'll tell themselves, look, today it is Ukraine, tomorrow who else? Especially since our main protector and defender seems like he's drifting away from us. He himself is threatening to annex, part of our territory, which is Greenland, the part of the Kingdom of Denmark, which is a NATO member. He is threatening to turn Canada into the 51st, U.S. state and so on. And so we can't be sure of this guy. He's talking about cutting financial commitments to NATO and that we must buy weapons from him and we must do this and that. And at the same time, Russia under Vladimir Putin is threatening our eastern border and states and so on. Today, it is Ukraine that he rules on. He's effectively already taken over Belarus. He's engineered some regime change inside Georgia where there's a pro-government there. There are already about two of them, Czech Republic and Hungary and so on, a Viktor Orban guy in Europe and so on. Who else will this guy basically just steamroll and come over? And so whereas the UK might stand up and say, what you're doing to Cuba, we're not supporting it, and we're gonna increase our aid to Cuba because a lot of European countries had already re-engaged with Cuba based upon the lead that was given to them in the waning days of the Obama regime and so on, and the normalization of well, I think they had done so even more, started investing and engaging with Cuba and dismantling sanctions that they had following the US lead. They will not be so bold to do it now. Britain, Spain, the other countries, I forgot the names, that had made some significant re-engagement with Cuba and maybe to put up resistance against the US, for what it is doing. I'm not talking about military resistance, but diplomatic resistance, pushing back against it and saying, no, Cuba has shown some reform and some sign, and you need to give them some breathing space. You think they're going to do it now? Vladimir Putin's adventure in Ukraine is going to make a lot of European countries that might have seen themselves as the voice of moderation and to talk some sense into the US under Trump. They're not going to want to do it. Because we go and we piss off and antagonize the United States, and yet we have this big bear, this big monster on our eastern border, indicating a resurgence of the whole Stalinist appetite to swallow up countries, to create a new Iron Curtain, to reconstitute some kind of Warsaw Pact kind of place and so on, space, involving Georgia, Belarus, Ukraine and so on, and maybe make some deeper pushes into Europe. Europe has been afraid of Russia for quite some time, what we understand to be Europe. And so Vladimir Putin has now complicated the situation, because the countries that might have wanted, even as allies, to stand up to and resist Trump, they're not going to want to do it. Choose your battles carefully. Do I want to piss off America while Russia is threatening us? That's the thing that we cannot understand, the strategic blunders. Just as America made a major strategic blunder, in Iraq many years ago, when they decided they were going to go back on what they call a debath, to debaffification of Iraq and suppress the Ba'ath Party, which was always numerically inferior, constituting about 1/3 of the total Iraqi space and population. The Shiites, which is the majority, almost the universal religion of Iran, already the 60%, in Iraq and so on. You go and you try, because Saddam was a Ba'ath and a Sunni, to go and try to suppress the Sunnis and the Ba'ath Party people in Iraq. What they effectively get was effective sovereignty of Iraq by Iran. So they actually facilitated an expansion and an increase in the influence and the power and the networking of the Iranians inside Iraq. It was a big strategic blunder that they did. It's the same way right now with Vladimir Putin, going into Ukraine and so on. It's a strategic blunder. Whereas France, which likes to think of itself as being independent-minded, just read back in the history of when de Gaulle, was the president of France and so on.